Happy Monday. It's Monday, the October the 20th, and we are already about to close out the first month of the last quarter of the year. I don't know about you, but I feel super excited um, because it's been a very, very productive year. 2025 has been. I'm really excited about this quarter. I've got a lot of projects and partnerships in the works. And I'm also excited to see what 2026 will bring, not just in my career and in the work that I do, but just for the workplace as a whole. Today, I decided to jump on. It's Monday morning where you are, most likely, if you're in Eastern time zone. Or if you're in the UK, it's like I am, it's Monday afternoon. We just finished our morning. And I'm going to have a quick 5 minute chat with you today. Give me a second. My phone is pinging off. I should have turned off my uh, sound. Anyway, I'm just. Give me a minute. Looks like there's a technical issue. Hold on a second. My marketing manager's telling me they cannot see my live stream. Bear with me a minute. It's always a technical glitch, isn't it? Let's have a look. Yep, I'm there. Cool. All right. Now let's get back into it. So let me just give my manager the heads up. I'm on LinkedIn. Can you see me? All right, no worries. We're back. Okay, anyway, so yeah, like I was saying, I'm on here for just like 5 minutes because I've put some food on for lunch. I'm making some falafel wraps, trying to keep it healthy and light and easy to make. And I thought in between while it's in the oven, let me pop on here and say hello. Today I want to talk to you just for a few minutes about the real reason why your team is stuck. And this was inspired by not just my own experience, but a few weeks ago, as many of you will know, I was at Asana's Work Innovation Summit. And one of the things that came out from that summit, really, really amazing insights, power-packed, insightful event. But one of the things that came out is that there's no point adding AI to chaos. It will just produce more chaos. When it comes to operations, whether you're operations manager, director, exec, project manager, specifically if you're a project management discipline, there's no use adding AI to operations if they're already in chaos. It's not going to solve the chaos. You're just adding another layer of complexity to the chaos. And so when you think about your team, when you think about a project that you're working on, you think about performance backlogs and things that are slowing you down from actually achieving those project deliverables and KPIs. When you think about that, and you have to think in a context of, not so much where can we plug in AI, but taking a step back, thinking about where are we doing this completely wrong? How about we just rethink our entire approach? And this is something I did before AI became a thing in the workplace. What I mean by that is a few years ago, when I was leading contracts across the United Kingdom as a project manager and operations leader, I was brought in to solve a failing business unit. And this failing business unit, to cut a long story short, was significantly failing to the point where the organization was thinking of just giving it up entirely because it just wasn't profitable. It had been around in existence for almost a year. I think it was about 9 months. And it was not making any profits. We had quite a few contacts, quite a few leads, but nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for its existence. And so I was brought in to be the problem solver in this issue and turn around this failing business unit. And what I did is I turned around that failing business unit within just 2 months. We went from being completely unprofitable to making profits, to landing contracts, to operating with clarity and precision and having a clear direction for our work, to actually obviously multiplying our revenue within just 2 months, and having more contracts in the pipeline as well, and being able to accurately predict and forecast the future, and actually winning over senior stakeholder confidence. And the reason we were able to do that, the reason I was able to do that, is because when I came in, I didn't start blaming the people. I didn't start blaming the team and say, you guys are doing this all wrong. No, I wasn't looking at their performance. Initially, I was just looking at their system that they were using. What was their process? What was their workflow like? And instead of piling on technology to solve the system, the process, the workflow, I started picking at the workflow and thinking what parts can be thrown out, what parts are unnecessary, what parts could stay in there. Let me give you an example. So we had a workflow where to get the client, you would have someone contact you via a web form. We would then send them an email, giving them further information with an information booklet, then inviting them to book a sales call. Once that was done, the person had the option to book the sales call, and then there'll be a whole lot of back and forth to try and arrange a convenient time for the sales call, which in itself would last an hour. All of this entire process would often take about 2 to 3 weeks. And we were wasting a valuable time and we were losing prospective customers who wanted to act a bit quicker. If you make a process unnecessarily long for a customer or a client, they will get put off from working from you. You want to have, as we already know when it comes to sales and marketing and operations, you want to have as few hurdles in there as possible, right? And so what I did is I said, okay, let's pick apart this process because this is just too long. The customer shouldn't have to jump through so many hoops for them to actually start working with us. It's just not worth it. They will end up going with another provider. It's very inconvenient. And so we looked at the process, and in 1 or 2 meetings, I was able to identify things that just totally weren't necessary. For example, when they contacted us via the website, then we would have to send them a welcome email with an intro pack and information about what we do. And then we would have to ask them again, do you want to book a sales call? That step I found totally unnecessary. We could just streamline everything and cut everything short and just say, you know what, from the time they contact us, expression of interest inquiry form on the website, that form should directly link to where they can book us immediately. They can look at their calendar and book us immediately. And that would save us having to email them and go back and forth via emails. That would save a lot of busy work, admin, and a lot of organizations are bogged down with busy work being work that's not necessarily what you were hired for. It's just the back office admin stuff, the boring stuff, right? Instead of the creative direction and strategy. I said, we can cut all of that out if we can just integrate everything on the website's platform. And so I collaborated with the technical team, the marketing team, the IT department, the developer team to ensure that everything was streamlined into just one step. So what would have taken 2 or 3 weeks only took 1 day. What would have taken 3, 4, or 5 steps just took 1 or 2 steps. And that way, sorry, I'm tripping up over my words. We were able to maximize our effectiveness when it comes to reaching our target customers. They were more inclined to work with us because there weren't so many hurdles and loops that they had to jump over. And we were able to turn around more clients, converting leads into actual paying clients more effectively. And my point with this is that when it comes to diagnosing performance, when it comes to diagnosing what's wrong with your operations, what's wrong with the project operations, it's not always a matter of your team is in the wrong. It's not always a matter of capability issues. It could just be a matter of you're doing things the old-fashioned way. And I always tell people, not because it's the way it's always been done, doesn't mean it's always the way it should be done. I had a conversation with a leadership consultant the other day in a podcast, my Work 2.0 podcast, and the episode is being released next week. And that's the same thing we discussed, that a lot of organizations are stuck in bottlenecks, in silos, in things that hurt and self-destruct, self-damage their productivity and their operational excellence simply because they refuse to change the way things have always been done because they're just so used to it. And I see a lot with public sector organizations. I see a lot, especially in the UK, where we're stuck with these outdated processes and it needs to change. Someone needs to step in and think, you know what, let's revisit how we do this process entirely. And it's up to you as a leader or a manager to brainstorm, not by yourself, but collaborate with your team to find solutions, to find ways to completely reimagine your process, completely reimagine your workflow. And then once it's reimagined and you've eliminated the necessary steps, cut out silos, reduce bottlenecks, and streamline operations as efficiently as possible, then you can think about automating and using AI to amplify what you have already done, the new roadmap that you've already created. So that's my tip for you today. Is Monday, beginning of the week, fresh start to the week. I wish you all the best in your work today, in the projects that you're working on, the operations you're leading, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.